Hello, my name is Mike Broderick, and we will be spending about the next 50 or so minutes together sharing information on human factors. If you have any questions about my presentation, my contact info is rotordoc1223@icloud.com. I'll also put it up at the end of the slide so that you can copy it down. Before we start, I want to thank Concord Battery for organizing this event and including me as one of their speakers, and also thank Helicopter Maintenance Magazine for their continued support of my articles and information. All right, so let's get started. Concord Batteries and Helicopter Maintenance present Mechanics, Pilots, and Safety and Maintenance. And of course, that's by me, Mike Broderick, and there's your first indication of how to get in touch with me should you have any questions. So the topics for today are going to be safety and maintenance and communications, the dirty dozen, human error and human factors, the anatomy of an accident, complacency, multitasking. Aviation is inherently not dangerous. However, it is unforgiving of carelessness, incapacity, or neglect, as we will see when we go through a review of this particular accident. So what is safety and maintenance? Let's break it down. Safety equals a condition of being protected from danger, risk, or injury. Maintenance are the activities performed to preserve for as long as possible the original condition of an asset while compensating for the normal wear and tear. All right, pretty simple, right? So who's responsible for the safety of this particular aircraft? Well, you've got a couple of people. These two handsome devils here are responsible for the maintenance side of it, but these folks are responsible for the flight safety of themselves, their helicopter, and their passengers. So it's a joint effort on how we manage safety. Responsibilities. Let's see what the pilot's responsibilities are. Your job is to apply your pilot skills such that you complete the mission and you, your passengers, and your aircraft return safely. For the mechanics, our job is to apply our skills such that your aircraft performs as designed and you, the pilot, are able to complete the mission safely with confidence, and that's a big word there, about the operation and safety of the aircraft. You have to be confident that what we've done will keep you in the air. As you really don't have time to, while you're flying, to wonder what we did in the maintenance department. It needs to operate as advertised. A pilot should not be the one to find this during pre-flight, or worse, to find it by accident. That'd be a wear and a fuel line. That would be not the way we should do it. That's the mechanic's job. So let's talk about communications between the pilot and the mechanic. Communications kind of goes on this bar or this block chart here. There's a message that's sent by the sender. It's encoded, goes through a channel which is either verbal or written. It's decoded by the recipient, figured out, encoded and decoded and sent back. So what are the barriers to the communication process? Distractions. So what is communication exactly? Communication is the imparting or exchanging of information by speaking or writing and using some medium to successfully convey an idea or a feeling. This is a skill that is learned, believe it or not. We have to learn how to communicate properly, both verbally and in writing. And I will give you some hints here as we go along. Effective verbal communication. Engage eye contact. Make sure that the person that you're speaking with, whether you're speaking to a single person or a group, make sure you have eye contact with everybody. You make it conversational. You make it clear. You make it concise. And you make it connected to the subject at hand. And of course, you make it correct. And you ask questions at the end to make sure that the people are getting what you're saying. This takes effort on both sides, from the speaker and from the listener. Effective written communication. You do that to convey complex information, verification of information. It's permanent, and you put it in a permanent record. It's for the longevity of the information. So this is more than just pure conversational. This would be what you would do when you are writing a report or filling out log pages. Verification of the originator. You sign off on it so they know who said it, and makes group access of the information rather than having to say it to individuals separately. You have it written and they can all read it. And it also delegates authority. That's a pretty bold statement there. It's pretty well understood. It's in simple language. And of course, the shop manager is the guy that signed off on it. So that should make sense that you would follow what this sign says. So let's do a checklist for writing instructions. Put the most important item in each sentence at the beginning. Use short sentences and short paragraphs. Arrange your points in logical order. Make your statements specific. Say one thing in each sentence. Use imperative mood if you want to make sure that you've got your point across. Checklist for writing instructions. Do not touch. That says the same thing as the last sign, but do you think it has the same effect as this does? No, it does not. It almost has maybe I should touch it just to see why I can't touch it. Something like a wet paint sign. So what is EQ? That's one of the newer things that they're talking about in human factors. Emotional quotient, also known as emotional intelligence, is the ability to understand, manage, and use your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Your speaking voice, shouting, an increase in volume, you get a decrease in understanding. Acceptance of the speaker's point of view by the listener decreases proportionally to the increase in the volume of the speaker's voice. The use of obscenities exacerbates the situation. So swearing and yelling does not get your point across. As a matter of fact, if you've got kids and you've known that you want to get after them, and as soon as you start raising your voice, you notice their eyes glaze over. They tune you out. Same thing when you're dealing with employees or when pilots and mechanics are speaking together. In a world saturated with electronic devices for communication, one would assume that interpersonal information exchange should be a breeze. However, reality is far from it. The ubiquity of technology has not made communications easier, but rather has complicated it. People don't speak or listen face to face. They email, text, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok, Nextdoor, Pinterest, and of course, the ubiquitous cell phone. Ah, yes, the cell phone. It can empower the obnoxious, amplify the ignorant, and of course, distract the user. Not sure if you knew this, but 15% of maintenance-related accidents are the result of distractions, multitasking, cell phone usage, and off-task conversations. So let's talk about effective communication between a pilot and a mechanic. Now, the mechanic have their own ideas sometimes about what they think that the pilot is full of and trying to communicate with them. And the pilot also have the same idea. However, they're both incorrect. They're just two different ways of thinking based upon their personalities and the way that they communicate. So we should learn how the other communicates so that we can do it effectively. Pilot and the mechanic, output, input. The thing that we're looking for is rapport. We're trying to get a rapport between us so that we can get problems solved. We need to be talking with each other, not at each other. So how does the mechanic react? The mechanic is an introverted thinker. We deal with scenarios methodically. We have a compelling drive to understand the way things work, which causes us to think and ponder a lot of problems. Troubleshooting. We have a lot of natural ability that makes us multi-talented while confidently managing the issues at hand. We have the opportunity to do that when we're troubleshooting. We're happiest when we're dealing with action-oriented tasks that require detailed, logical analysis and technical skills. We absorb large quantities of impersonal facts, and by sorting through the information, make decisions. We have that capability, and we have that opportunity. 30 minutes of analyzing and questioning by us, the mechanic, seems like an eternity to the pilot. We take pride in our ability to analyze the information given and apply our skills to correct the defective helicopter systems. Well, what about the pilot? Extroverted thinkers live in a world of facts and concrete needs, values competence and efficiency, generally take charge and assertive people, self-confident and aggressive, can be exacting and express themselves without reserve, deals with all scenarios instantly and systematically, decisions must be made immediately, wants hard facts, concise data, condensed and to the point. And of course, 30 minutes of analyzing and questioning by the mechanic seems like an eternity to the pilot. They have a clear vision of the way things should be, constantly evaluating personal environment to ensure all is running smoothly and systematically. They make decisions instantly. That's the way they have to do it as a pilot. So how do we as pilots and mechanics achieve an effective communication? We respect each other's profession. We remember that we are both professionals. We remember we both want the same outcome, a flyable, safe aircraft. We need to talk with each other, not at each other, and we need to listen to each other. So let's go through a scenario of troubleshooting. This is when we do the most exchange with the pilot, that and just prior to a pre-flight. The pilot is our best tool. We need to recognize that. He or she or the person behind the controls that flies it every day. They get to know instinctively what's right and what's wrong and where things should be. We need to listen to the pilot. We need to take notes. We need to get a maintenance history, make sure we've got that in front of us. And we need to ask direct questions. Take a flight if we can, if it's safe enough, and be patient. Pilot, remember you are our best tool. So the information you give us is straight, cannot be thought of as complaining, but needs to be factual. Be factual, don't complain. Provide details. Ask about the maintenance history. Listen to our questions and take a test flight if we can do it. And of course, be patient. And we will arrive at a solution together to figure out what the problem is and get it fixed. So let's talk about post-maintenance inspection and a pre-flight. Same thing, pilot is the best tool. We leave the aircraft open wherever we inspect it and wherever we work so that the pilot can see exactly where we've been and what we've done. Ask them to inspect our work. Share the inspection information, share what we found while we were doing the maintenance. Have the maintenance history handy. Answer their questions concisely. Take a test flight. Note the changes to that the pilot has noticed on the aircraft, whether it was in for routine maintenance or it was in to correct a problem. Still, you are our best tool. Use a flashlight and details. Pay attention to what we're showing you. We're showing you where we've been, and we want you to be comfortable with the work that we've done. Read our inspection report and ask questions. Review the maintenance history. Ask the questions. Take a test flight. Vocalize the changes that you note in the aircraft from the time you flew it before. Release the aircraft to service together. So human factors. The effects of human factors are all around us. Anytime you've engineered a product, process, or system to work more efficiently with the humans, you've practiced the concept of human factors. Human factors' goal is to reduce human error, increase productivity, and enhance safety and comfort. It specifically focuses on the interaction between a human and the product, process, or the system of interest. Human factors and maintenance resource management. Therefore, human factors is the conceptual knowledge of human psychology, the study of social and personal skills involving psychological and physical abilities. Maintenance resource management, MRM, is the practical application of that knowledge. Keep this in mind. So are accidents the result of human factors? Nope, not the case. Is this human factors? No. This is human failure that caused this accident. It's human to make mistakes. Recognize that. Mistakes are the result of negative influencers affecting our performance. Failure and success result from the same mental processes. Think about this. No matter the job, we will experience success or failure. That's your choice. You only have two options. You'll either do it correctly or you'll do it as a failure. Because aviation is unforgiving of human error, we cannot allow mistakes to capture and erode the safety of our system. The Dirty Dozen identify 12 common negative influencers affecting our mental processes or our physical performance. Human factors is the concept of human behavior. Human failure is one of the physical results experienced. Human success is the other physical result. So let's talk about the Dirty Dozen. These are the 12 human behaviors that independently or together are the factors discovered to result in an unsafe condition, incident, or catastrophe. Originally conceived in 1994 by Gordon Dupont of Transport Canada, Gordon presented these to the Transport Canada, and they have since been accepted globally. Gordon also writes for our magazine. Stress, complacency, fatigue, distractions, pressure, lack of awareness, lack of assertiveness, lack of communication, lack of knowledge, lack of resources, lack of teamwork, and of course the norms. Those are the things that affect our behavior. We'll go through each one of those. So let's talk about stress. It's a physical, chemical, and emotional state capable of exerting damage on your ability to rationally deal with both work and personal circumstances. Fatigue is the physiological reaction to the extended physical or mental stress. Each technician and pilot must recognize the symptoms of fatigue in themselves and others. Know your limitations. Complacency, and I feel this is probably the major one of the 12 things that affect our behavior and are supporters of the others. It's a feeling of self-satisfaction accompanied by a loss of awareness and potential dangers. While job repetition does promote efficiency, keep in mind the importance of your task. Follow a work checklist, initial, stamp each task as you do it. Distraction, a thing that diverts your attention from the activity, the task at hand at which you are engaged. Avoid distractions. The use of checklists should you get interrupted mid-job, go back and a couple of steps. If you have a difficulty maintaining focus, stop, take a deep breath, and re-engage the task. Pressure. Always put safety above meeting a schedule. Be honest with yourself. Should you see that complicated schedule will be missed, let management know and ask for help rather than speed up your activities. Lack of awareness. Be aware of the total job and how your actions affect the working with you and how those affect working with you. Think before you act. Stay aware of their situation. If something feels or appears off, most of the time it is. Lack of assertiveness. You see something, say something. Do not be intimidated by management. An unsafe condition or action does not become acceptable because a manager says that it is. Lack of communications. Express yourself clearly and concisely in both written and verbal communication. Ensure the written message is understood. When giving verbal directions, look at your audience to see if there is confusion about the message. Allow questions to ensure understanding. Lack of knowledge. Do not begin a task without a clear understanding of the technical requirements as well as the expectations of management. Lack of resources. Before beginning a job, ensure that all the required parts are available. Review the component records before assembly. If a time-life component is returned to service, ensure that all the manufacturer's bulletins are complete. Verify there is adequate component time remaining. Verify that the part numbers and serial numbers displayed on the component match those numbers listed on the component documents. Lack of teamwork. Aircraft maintenance is a group activity with individuals sharing a common goal. Each team member understands the job and agrees to the plan, allowing for the working relationship of mutual trust. Avoid accepting the we have always done it this way. Tribal knowledge, while helpful, may be dangerous if not written into any of the manufacturer's or the company's standards. So what happened to November 37 Sierra Hotel? An endless buffet of blunders is about the best way we can put it. Loss of control, Sundance helicopter, AS-350B2, November 37 Sierra Hotel. It was near Las Vegas on December 7th, 2011. This is the actual incident report by the NTSB. It's all public knowledge, and I have authorization to use it. You will see that each one of these dirty dozen plays a part, a major part, in the cause of this accident. So let's talk about the company. They at this time, operated 22 helicopters. In 2011, they flew 31,350 tour flight hours with 50 pilots. Sunrise to sunset, 7 days a week, 1,425 flight hours per helicopter per year, 118.75 flight hours per helicopter per month, 3.95 flight hours per helicopter per day. 40 technicians, that's 1.81 technician per helicopter. You think that's enough people? Don't know, hard to say. With maintenance operating 24/7, performing all required flight maintenance other than the component overhaul. So they had the components overhauled outside by an outside service, and they just replaced them as required. Most recent maintenance on the helicopter. On December 6th, the maintenance completed on November 37 Sierra Hotel with a crew of 4 mechanics and a QC inspector as the crew lead. A 100-hour inspection, engine change, replacement of the tail rotor control servo and the main rotor fore and aft control servo. On December 7th, the 2011, about 16:30 Pacific Standard Time, on its 4th flight of the day, AS-350 helicopter November 37 Sierra Hotel crashed in the mountainous terrain about 14 miles east of Las Vegas, Nevada. The pilot, 4 passengers were killed in the crash. The helicopter was destroyed by impact and post-impact fire. This is the path that's followed by the tower as the helicopter left the facility. Flying at about 3,500 feet AGL at 120 knots, sudden climb to 4,100 feet with 90-degree left turn, slowing, then descending to 3,300 feet, tracking a northeasterly direction for about 20 seconds, then another 90-degree turn, descending at 2,500 feet per minute until impact. The pilot, 31 years of age, certified since 2007 in rotorcraft and instrument, 3,174 total flight hours, 1,360.6 PIC in this aircraft. So he wasn't a rookie. No history of accidents or violations. He was not unsafe. First day back from a 2-day furlough. Should have been rested. This was his 3rd tour flight. Previous passengers felt safe and comfortable. Cause for the loss of control. The fore and aft main rotor servo input rod disconnected from the input lever during flight. The assembly securing hardware, bolt, washer, self-locking castle nut, and split pin or cotter pin were missing from the assembly. None of the securing hardware were ever found. The control rods for both lateral servos and the tail rotor servo were connected. The fore and aft servos control rod was found in two pieces. The break was consistent with impact damage. The lower piece was connected. The bolt hole on the piece that was disconnected revealed no elongation. Keep that in mind. Cause for loss of control. The attaching hardware, the fiber lock, castle nut, washer, cotter key, and bolt vibrated loose and fell out during the flight, just prior to the sudden change in altitude. This is a picture of the connection, shows you the connection of the rotor servo assembly and the fore and aft main rotor servos input rod assembly. Hooks up right there. And of course, there's a picture of the main rotor assembly. This is the nut and the split pin, and the fore and aft servo input rod connection hardware is visible through a cutout in the ice shield that are present on their helicopters. It's about eye level for a pilot doing its pre-flight inspection. 4 people looked at this area: the mechanic, the inspector, the test pilot prior to release, and the pilot that ended up dying in the helicopter. 4 people looked, 4 people saw that the nut was in place, but there was no cotter key. There's a picture of the hardware just for knowledge so that you know what we're talking about. 14 CFR 26.607, any removable fastener whose loss could jeopardize the safe operation of the helicopter must incorporate 2 separate locking devices: a fiber type lock nut resistant to backing off, and then a drilled bolt through which a cotter key can secure the assembly. Let's talk about the mechanic that did the installation. An A&P since 2008, 2 years experience in general aviation maintenance, no experience on the AS-350 aircraft, hired in June 2011, company in-dock training, OJT by the other mechanics, no factory school on the AS-350 aircraft. He had completed 6 fore and aft servo changes prior to this installation. Normal work schedule, and this is a pretty tough schedule, having worked people before. 4 days of 11 hours each day, 3 days off. 3 days of 12 hours each day, 4 days off. Normal workday began at 1,200 hours. Schedule off duty on December 6th. Due to increased workload, he was called in early on December 6th, reported for work at 5:50 in the morning. Those weren't his normal hours. Because of shift schedule change, he only got about 5 hours sleep. The inspector received his A&P in 2002, QC inspector for 6 months, hired in November 2010. About 9 years prior experience in maintenance, 1 year of maintenance on the AS-350. One of 3 lead mechanics in the shop, no mention of a factory school. Normal work schedule, same as the mechanics. And again, due to increased workload, he was called into work on December 6th. He reported for work at the same time. Because of a shift schedule change, he only got about 7 hours sleep prior to showing up. There's a thing that causes fatigue. It's called phase advance, phase delay. Both the mechanic and the inspector were working off their normal work schedule. The mechanic had slept approximately 21 hours in the 72 prior to his maintenance event. The inspector had slept approximately 15 in the 48 hours prior to this maintenance event. Adjusting for an early morning shift, phase advance, takes longer than adjusting to a night shift, phase delay. Check pilot. The check pilot holds an A&P, which he received in 2000. Hired in 2010 as a line pilot, at 1,500 hours in rotorcraft as a PIC, had conducted 10 to 12 after-maintenance flight checks prior to the accident. He was one of the ones that inspected the nut and the bolt assembly. So we went through some post-accident interviews. Airbus maintenance manual has instructions for fore and aft servo removal and installation. The mechanic had completed the job 6 previous times. He was trained by another mechanic using tribal knowledge. Both mechanic and the inspector were using an abbreviated work card. They were complacent about their job. The mechanic stated he reused the fiber lock nut. We always do it this way, as he deemed the nut airworthy after cleaning and inspection. This was their standard practice. Self-locking nut reuse guidance. Airbus Standard Practices Manual provides detailed guidance, section 1.4.2 on the reuse of self-locking nuts. Make sure the nylon lock is not excessively damaged. Fit the nut by hand, and if it can be tightened by hand, the nut is to be discarded. If it requires a minimum torque to retighten, then the nut may be reused. These nuts are like $50 a pop. Self-locking nut reuse guidance. Advisory Circular AC 43131B. Acceptable methods, techniques, and practices. Aircraft inspection and repair. Section 7-64, self-locking nuts. After the nut has been tightened, make sure the bolt or the stud has at least one thread showing past the nut. Do not reuse a fiber or nylon lock nut if it does not meet minimum prevailing torque. Post-accident interviews continued. The complete instructions for the installation of the servo were not part of the in-house work card. Each of the details of the servo installation should have a mechanic sign-off with the QC verification sign-off code. This is a card that I made based upon the instructions out of the Airbus maintenance manual. Connect upper ball end servo control stationary swash plate. Ensure there are spacer bushings. Offer up the servo control actuator downwards. Install the pin or bolt, washers, and nut. Torque the nut. Safety the nut with a cotter pin. Notice checkoff spots at each one of those, and then a QC signature stamp and a date, seeing that this whole work had been inspected. Possible bolt loss scenarios. The bolt was sheared by an in-flight or impact forces. The bolt fractured due to fatigue or embrittlement. The nut, cotter pin were not installed at the servo installation. Due to normal vibratory forces, the nut became separated from the bolt, which worked its way out of the adjoining rod and lever. That is the cause of the accident. Summary of safety issues: improper use of degraded self-locking nut, maintenance personnel fatigue, no written work instructions with the work completion sign-off space, lack of technical training for the mechanic. The Dirty Dozen in full effect. Complacency was at the bottom of all of these, supporting all of these factors. This is a picture of the pilot, 31 years old, recently married. His passengers included a newly married couple in from India wanting to see the Grand Canyon as part of their honeymoon, and a couple that had been married for 20 years, and their kids gave them this tour as a 20-year anniversary gift. I show these pictures to show the effects of our maintenance upon the people that fly behind our work. And maybe we'll think just a little bit and remember these pictures prior to signing off the work and letting it out. Lack of communication, complacency, lack of knowledge, distractions, lack of teamwork, fatigue, lack of resources, pressure, lack of assertiveness, stress, lack of awareness, the norms, all because of complacency. So let's talk about attitude. Well, you've got crummy attitude and you've got a good attitude. And how do you tell the difference? You can tell the difference by the use of this acronym. I bet you never thought that FINE was really an acronym. Let's show you how it works. With a bad attitude, and how you say fine means frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. However, if I ask the question, how are you doing? And you say fine, that means first rate, invulnerable, normal, and even. So depending upon how that question is answered using this acronym can indicate your attitude for that particular day. This is definitely somebody who answered the question fine. Not so much the guy that did this one. Keep that in mind when you're talking to your fellow mechanics or pilot for that matter, just how they might answer that. Complacency, I've talked about it all through the presentation, a feeling of self-satisfaction accompanied by a loss of awareness of the potential dangers. The only thing missing here is the call to the hospital to pick this guy up. Levels of complacency. Generally aware but relaxed. Activities considered routine. Basically ready for the unexpected. Unexpected event. Chaos. Complacency is man's biggest weakness as it creeps up upon us when we least expect it. This is a video I'll narrate as we go along from Pasadena Helicopter or Pasadena PD at their heliport a few years back. Heliport camera showing an incident that occurred on the landing pad. Now, these gentlemen just got a phone call from the captain that's sitting in that trailer over to the side that they needed to go out to support a ground operation, surface operation that was going on by the local PD. They roll the helicopter out, but I want you to pay attention to where they parked the helicopter. They parked it off of the H symbol. Those H symbols are there specifically located for a reason. This helipad is large enough to support two helicopters running together on the helipad. That's the way it's designed. So you can see there's just a little bit of hurriedness, but you can also see some routine activity going on. They've all been down this road before. They know exactly what they have to do. The helicopter's ready to go. It's been gone through its pre-flight, and it's getting ready to start and take off. It's a rainy day. It's a Saturday. The other helicopter is out on patrol. Since they are near the Rose Bowl, they were there. The other helicopter was doing a patrol at the Rose Bowl for a UCLA Rose Bowl game. Again, notice the casualness of everybody. Routine. Are they really thinking about what they're doing, or are they just going through a rote activity that they've done several times before. Okay, the observer is getting ready to get into the helicopter. The helicopter started. Fairly soon, out of the building that's over on the right-hand side over there, you're going to see the captain emerge from the building. He's got a phone call that told him that the situation had changed, that they no longer needed the helicopter on the patrol. You're also going to see off into the distance the arrival of the helicopter back from patrol. There, you just look off into the distance there, off to the left, you see the helicopter coming back from its patrol. And of course, getting ready to land. There is no communication between the two helicopters. There's no communication to the captain from the helicopter. There's no control, so this is an uncontrolled approach. The captain's walking across the grass. He's getting ready to go talk to them and tell them, hey, deal's off, not to worry. The other helicopter on patrol is moving in. He almost goes over to talk to the pilot, but he decides he can talk to the observer. As he's in there talking to him, the second helicopter comes and lands on the pad. And that's what happens. One of the rotor blades hit the grass and dug in so deep that they couldn't find it. The captain had about 20 stitches taken in his leg from all the debris. Nobody else was hurt. The helicopters both were total losses. And all of this is because of complacency. They've since changed the way they do business up there at Pasadena PD, and they encouraged me to show this film, hoping to keep other people from making the same mistakes. Complacency. Let's talk about multitasking quickly. Performing two tasks that demand your active and focused attention simultaneously, which is impossible. Human ability to process more than one stream of information at a time and respond accordingly is severely limited. It's not multitasking, it's task switching, which demands more attention on your cognitive processes, which allows details to be overlooked. So how would you like to be just about to go under and the doctor that's about to operate on you gets a phone call? Bad enough that he would get the phone call and accept it by the nurse, but you overhear this conversation just before you go out. Oh, sure, I'm free after work. Our problem-solving brain power processes include understanding the situation, deciding what is important and it's the options, recalling the pertinent data, preventing extraneous thoughts. Interruptions take brain power. Brain power to actively monitor these systems takes energy. Mentally, we struggle to ensure the consistent flow. Chaos. All right, the end is here. You've been patient, and hopefully you appreciated what we've shared today. Hopefully got some good information that you can take back to work and help you in your daily tasks. Remember the rules of aviation. Keep calm, aviate, navigate, but mainly communicate. Thank you, Concord. Hopefully this was thought-provoking, and as I say, some of you will get some good information out of it. Thank you all, and there's my information that you can get in touch with me should you have questions about this presentation. Thank you.